Okay, so I think one more thing I want to do to the animator here. So as we walk off one of these cubes, we want him to start playing the fall animation, right? If I just walk off this, we don't want him to keep running like that. So let's go to the animator. We can use any state as well for this. Just right-click, make transition over here. So let's add the fall trigger right here, and let's bring this way down. Okay, that's okay for me. The little bit of snappiness. So that should actually set up our animator completely now. We should be all good. We do have a hurt in our death. We might have to make some more code before that happens. Okay, so we'll get into that very soon. We're going to start smashing stuff. So if we want to like push these around, if we want to move these around as we run into them, let's do that. So I'll actually create a sphere here. I'll create another collider on my guy. So I'll go right-click, 3D object, sphere. Okay, and I just want to place this like around his belly because that's what's sticking out of him the most. If you got like a human character, you can just pull this forward a touch on around their waist, or their chest, or their head, or however you want that mechanic to go. I'm just going to do it around the bottom of the egg there. Just come out a bit so that we actually bump into stuff. Okay, so I want to actually attach this to the root, right to where his hips are. So I'm going to drag this up and place it under this bone. So as this bone moves, this sphere will move too. And we can leave the mesh renderer just for a quick test. Right, let's leave that there just for a minute. And we'll see how that kind of moves around with them. Right, so if I move forward like that, the egg will come with me. Right, that's exactly what we want. So what I want to do next is, it will kind of move the rigid bodies. Yeah, we maybe want to actually make that a little bit more reactive. So let's add a rigid body to the sphere. So I'm going to rename this bumper sphere. Okay. Remove the mesh renderer. That's in a good spot. I like it. So let's go add rigid body. Okay. And here, as I mentioned before, if you tick is kinematic, it'll basically never move. It'll stay, unless it has a parent that moves, of course. But the rigid body itself won't activate physics on this thing to be jiggling around. So let's uncheck use gravity as well. Obviously, we don't need that either. Okay, with those, save, play. And that should actually move stuff around pretty reactively. Yeah. And now remember, we have weights on these. So the crates are 7, mass value of 7, and the sphere by default was 1. I think this works for me, but you can turn it up or turn the cubes down, whatever you think is better for your game. So next thing I think we'll do is we'll set up our crate break. So let's go in and again. We can actually go to the animation tab. Actually, I said we weren't going to use this anytime soon, but we will use it to make sure that where our hitbox is. So I don't want him to break a cube that's above 1, right? I just want him to break the cube that's in front of him. So let's go to our attack animation and play this. And let's pause it where we would like to have our trigger happen. So I guess it doesn't really matter. So I can go create 3D object. Let's create a box collider that is the most optimal one to use. So let's create a cube. Let's bring it in front of us a bit. Let's move this up smaller. Let's put this around his beak and just make sure that he's not going to hit a cube above him. He's just going to hit the one that's right in front of him. So let's go about there. Don't want it to be too far past his face. It'll look a little bit odd, right? So you don't want this too small. I think that's probably good. This is the hitbox for smashing stuff. So let's do that. I'll uncheck the mesh renderer there. So it's good. It's okay to leave this here instead of actually just right-clicking and removing it. But if you definitely don't need it again, you can see the gizmo collider just fine. Maybe you can just delete this. But for me, I like to actually be able to turn this on and off if I want to change anything about it. So we'll leave that for now. Remove the preview, mesh renderer. All right, and I'll rename this attack trigger. All right, so the way we're going to actually activate this is with a tag. So as mentioned, we could actually use layer. We got a special effects layer for ignoring some physics and stuff like that, but we're going to use tags on this one. So let's go down into tag. Let's say add tag. Add a new one. Little plus button right there. And I'm just going to call this player attack. All right, and then we can actually go to the our attack trigger here. Change this to player attack. Okay, so if this collider here detects, we're gonna have to add a trigger to this. But if it detects, we could actually add a trigger to. Let's add a trigger to this here. So let's say is trigger. Right? We don't want this to move stuff around either. So what we're gonna do is keep this deactivated, and we can activate it in our player code. So let's do that. Let's go back and make another IE numerator. So we can go to the top. You can state all kinds of different things within the Unity game engine. So like this character controller here, which we've named controller, transforms, animators, all kinds of stuff. We're actually going to add a game object. We're going to call this attack trigger. Your capitalization, you'll get used to the way that goes. Basically, on variables, just regular variables, you probably want a lowercase at the beginning and then a capitalization of any word past it. On functions, you want to keep these capitalized, basically every word you use. Like this down here was attack and timer capitalized, right? Just like the way Unity C# does it anyway. This wait for a second. Right, so just bear that in mind. So we got a game object here. We want to say public because we want to drag it right in from our scene into our inspector so that it knows exactly what we're talking about. Save. You can also state things to grab in the world here. We'll get into get component and find component and stuff like that. Right in the start, we'll say attack trigger dot set active, and this is that little checkbox in the very top left of the object in the inspector. False. Okay, so we'll just say deactivate this right away. And when we come down to attack, let's start another coroutine here. So we can just copy this one. Copy. We'll call this attack trigger. We will wait maybe half of this, so let's try 0.3. Let's try 0.4. Okay, and instead of saying this here, we'll say attack trigger. Looks like game object dot set active true. So we'll set it true. We'll check that little box off that's in the inspector there, and here we'll set it back to false. Okay, and just to be safe, copy this. We'll place it here, just so that it's false first, and then it waits 0.4 seconds, activates it, and then deactivates it right here. So now we just need to start the coroutine. So we can just copy this one too. Control C, Control V, and we can rename this attack trigger. Okay, so we'll call them both. So we can do first one first, second one second. Cool. So let's try this out. So for this reason, I'm actually going to activate the mesh renderer there so I can see it when I'm playing, just for a test. Come into our player script here, see the attack trigger is missing a game object, so let's add in our attack trigger. There we are. Okay, save. So with this tag on the trigger, player attack, in our script here, crate break, when we go to write it, we'll actually check and see if it's our player attack trigger or a tag. All right, let's see. So as I attack, there's the cube to smash the crate. Just make sure the timing is right. Maybe we'll want it just a split second earlier. Poke. Poke, there's the cube. Yeah, just a split second earlier. So let's go 0.3. Maybe that was the right idea. Okay. Good. I think that'll work out for us. Okay, so let's write our crate break script. This is what we've all been waiting for. Very soon we'll be collecting our coins and stuff like that and making these drop stuff. So I want to go to this cube. Make that blank for now. Let's click one of these crates. You can just go to your scripts, go to the crate break. So we're going to use a Unity function here called void on trigger enter. This is the best way, fastest way, nicest way that you can trigger an event by two colliders touching. Pretty awesome. So it'll add this right here for you. So it absolutely needs this. It needs a collider that you're talking about. So we'll say if other, which is the collider that it's named, dot game object. So we can check the parent object by doing that. Dot compare tag. Now you can do a couple of things here. You can say dot compare tag, kind of a function to check it, or you can use dot tag equals player attack and just call it in right here. But what I want to do is say the compare tag. It's just two different ways that pretty much do the exact same thing. We will destroy this. So right now we'll just say destroy game object. So here's your little function to destroy whatever you want. So you say lowercase game object to be talking about this one. So whatever this script is sitting on, which is our crate. Let's add a couple notes in here for things we'll want to do later. Instantiate, basically pop something into the world. broken crate at this location. Maybe we want to drop coins. Alright, I think that'll be good for now. I should be able to push these around. Yep, and I should be able to make them go away by clicking. Boom. Bop. I think that's perfect timing on our attack there. So let's create our broken object now. So I'm gonna delete this TNT. Remember, we've got all everything set up in prefabs in our folder right here. So I'm just gonna delete everything out of my scene. I'll leave this one here. So we have the broken crate for this one right now. So we have 3 different crates. So what we'll do is up here we'll just say public GameObject broken crate prefab. Okay, so here we just want to say instantiate function broken crate prefab. We want to tell it where, so we'll just say transform.position, transform.rotation. So that'll drop this game object into our world at this position, at our position in our rotation. So basically the game object this is attached to, which will be any one of those crates. And it'll take that specific transform. Alright, let's try that out. Okay, so here we have a public parameter here that we can edit now. So let's drag in right from our prefabs. These are game objects, right? Drag them in right there. So let's see if that'll actually work out. There we go. It's just the beginning. So obviously we don't want to just leave those there forever. So we'll optimize this as much as possible, I promise.